2025 Giro d'Italia Stage 12, finishing here in Viadana, and it was a sprinter's fest. Also, with a few surprises there in the mix. Before I get into that, I want to let you know this Giro d'Italia coverage is brought to you by Bicycle, the best place online to sell your pre-owned bikes. Have too many bikes in your shed or garage? Well, no problem. Head on over to bicycle.com/FloBikes. List your bikes in minutes and sell to cyclists worldwide. Also get your 30% off seller discount code. All right, let's talk about the Sprint Fest, because it was Olav Kooij, the Visma Lease bike rider, the Dutchman, who won ahead of Casper Van Uden, winner the other day in Lecce. That was when I had my tooth cracked. Anyway, today it was over to Olav Kooij, who was just badly positioned there in the Naples stage, but was showing so much power. I thought he would be the one for today, given the amount of power he showed in Naples. Really the last time we had a true sprinters fight on our hands. That was the day it was super wet and they neutralized the GC. Well, today we had a clean run to the line. And Kooij, well, he was delivered by none other than Stage 9 winner there over the gravel in Siena, Wout van Aert. And what was key was coming into that last corner at 500 meters to go. A sharp 120-degree left-hand turn. Van Aert led him in through that corner, and then the final push, he did such a long lead out to deliver Kooij to the line. Success, but Kooij had a little bit of challenge coming from Casper Van Uden, and of course the big figure of Ben Turner charging to the line. We also had Mads Pedersen in the mix, and you couldn't miss him in the Maglia Ciclamino. For Kooij, this victory means a lot. His biggest win to date before this, well, that was the Giro d'Italia stage in Naples back in 2024. And like many sprinters, yet without a victory in this Giro d'Italia, like Sam Bennett, Corbin Strong, and yes, Kooij, this victory will mean a lot for the Dutchman. Mads Pedersen, however, the champion of the sprints so far in this Giro d'Italia in the Maglia Ciclamino, had to do without his teammates, at least up to a point. He had Dan Houle, the TT winner. He also had Vacek working him up in position, but all of a sudden it was chaotic. It was the washing machine effect of all the sprinters' teams. Everybody wanted a piece of victory today, and unfortunately, Pedersen and the leadout Trek, the multicolored team, was caught out. Pedersen did his part though. He jumped on Van Uden's wheel to try to work his way through the sprint and try to salvage something out of it. But today, Wout van Aert was on flying form, making sure to get to that left-hander first for his sprinter, Kooij, and it paid off. Let's back it up. It's around 170, 180 kilometers. We started off in Modena, the home of Ferrari, the home of Ducati, to get here. Emilia-Romagna, over the Po River to the neighboring region of Lombardia. A little bit of rain out in the day, a little bit of wind, and a three-man escape. In the three-man move was a Polti rider, a Bardiani rider, an Arkea rider. I want to keep an eye on the Polti Visit Malta rider in the red team. Well, that's Andrea Pietrobon. He held on for the longest. Back behind, well, it was a day controlled by Decathlon, Visma. Then we had the other sprint teams up there. We had Lidl Trek for a little while towards the finish, but even earlier on in the day, Mads said that he wouldn't put his team to work until the final if he knew it was going to come down to a sprint. The other sprint teams were up there too. Everybody wanted a piece of this pie today, including Alpecin for Caden Groves, who already had his sprint victory there in Naples. Now the trio never had a chance. The sprinters wanted to have their day. What was interesting though is as the trio started to get pulled back, it was only Pietrobon who remained. He was still up the road when we came up to the Red Bull sprint. At that sprint, there's 6, 4, and 2 seconds. Pietrobon picked up the 6. Back behind it was the group. We saw the sprinter from Ineos, Hajduk. He was jamming off the front. Also, you wouldn't have missed him, the pink jersey, Isaac Del Toro. For me, Isaac Del Toro is doing what Primož Roglič always did in the other races to win so many one-week stage races, including the Dauphiné and Grand Tours like the Volta a España and the Giro d'Italia in the past. Bonus seconds, jamming off the front in the last moment to pick up the key bonus seconds for the finish or at the intermediate sprints. The Roglification, and it was on, but it wasn't Primož, it was Isaac Del Toro, our 21-year-old Mexican sensation from UAE Team Emirates. Well, he picked up third in that sprint behind Hajduk. In doing so, he picked up 2 more seconds, and I think now it's 33 seconds ahead in the GC over his own teammate, Juan Ayuso. And if you're thinking Juan Ayuso speaks good English when we interview him there at the start, well, that's because he grew up for part of his years in Atlanta, Georgia. I asked if he was a Braves fan. No, he followed NFL football more than baseball. Pieterban's goose was cooked, however. He was caught right about the time the riders crossed over the finish line for the final loop of 26 kilometers. Then we knew it was going to be a sprint. So Isaac Del Toro picking up those bonus seconds. That is key as he tries to fight for the race overall. What's interesting though is we came into the line, there were a couple of crashes and splits. We're going to have to wait to see what the official results are, because now what we're seeing in the results is that Richard Carapaz, Derek G, Damiano Caruso, those three GC riders all made the good side of the split. Caught behind was everyone else. We don't know right now if the UCI jury is going to give those guys the same amount of time. We're not quite sure why the split happened. If it was due to that crash under 3K by the Pulte Visit Malta rider, or if there was something else, we're going to have to review the footage and go back to that later. Regardless, as it stands now, there's a split in the GC, and Richard Carapaz benefited the most, moving up in the GC. I think he's around 4th overall now, but still on top is Isaac Del Toro, showing he has that kick, a Primoz Roglic in his heyday. The Roglification now is stumped by the Mexican Isaac Del Toro, and Visma Lease bike on a roll. Wout van Aert, after victory in Siena, now delivering his teammate Olav Kooij to victory here in Viadana, Lombardia, at the 2025 Giro d'Italia, Stage 12.